by thanking, okay, thank you. Before we start, we want to thank literally everybody for your participation in the town hall meeting in June. Your presence and your support, both before and after, made the whole evening the success it was. So thank you especially. Those of you who came early or passed out handouts at the door or encouraged people to, I almost said passed out at the door. Um, encouraged people to sign up for involvement, brought food, stayed late, conversed with people. We were and are truly a family united for this just cause. So here are the questions we want to explore tonight after prayer. How do we want our group to continue in light of where we are now? How do we prioritize all that needs to be done? How do we promote fundraising for our Racial Equity Fund and ensure its integrity? How do we continue to learn? How do we maintain visible support with the South Baltimore Community Land Trust? And how do we sustain the interest of our parish as a whole in this work? Sometimes contemplating all that needs to be done seems overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be if we trust in the slow work of God. Who is putting a time limit on our work other than ourselves? That is exactly the theme of tonight's prayer. So let us now pause to let God guide us. Our prayer this evening is from the famous theologian, Pierre Teilhard de Chardin. Trust in the slow work of God. Jody?
Above all, trust in the slow work of God. We are quite naturally impatient in everything to reach the end without delay. We should like to skip the intermediate stages. We are impatient of being on the way to something unknown, something new. And yet it is the law of all progress that it is made by passing through some stages of instability, and that it may take a very long time. And so I think it is with you. Your ideas mature gradually. Let them grow. Let them shape themselves without undue haste. Don't try to force them on as though you could be today what time, that is to say, grace and circumstances acting on your own goodwill, what time will make of you tomorrow. Only God could say what this new spirit gradually forming within you will be. Give our Lord the benefit of believing that his hand is leading you, and accept the anxiety of feeling yourself in suspense and incomplete. Amen.
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 Thank you, Jody and Skip. I also wanted to make you aware of another city council meeting that's next week. I don't know if you remember, probably a month or two ago, maybe. We went to support South Baltimore Community Land Trust. They continue to work to try to get CSX to address the aftermath of the coal spill that still affects their residents with the toxic environment. So the council meeting is next Wednesday at 5 p.m. It's on the 24th. And it would be great if we had a group there to support them. I know they really appreciated it last time. So if you can make it Wednesday at 5 o'clock at City Council, that would be great. And if you have any questions, let me know or let Sharon know. We also promised to invite South Baltimore Community Land Trust back to meet with parishioners after a Sunday Mass, especially for those who are not at the town meeting, and to learn more about what they offer their community. People also asked them to bring their glass art back. And it so happens that the Social Action Committee is planning the St. Vincent de Paul Feast Day Mass. which is on September 25th. And we thought that would be a perfect occasion. And then the week before, the green team is planning the creation mass. And we talked about digging up, some of you probably don't know, but at the town hall, Rosemarie Hellman offered if we wanted to dig up her rosebud tree plantings, like the saplings that we did a few years ago, that she would be happy for us to do that. And if the community at South Baltimore, if they would like to take any of those home, we thought we could dig them up the week after the creation mass, and then we could have them available for that Sunday, September 25th. So anyway, you will be making announcements at church, but I just wanted you to know about that. So after that update, let's discuss the many possible paths and begin to discern which of those paths and in what order this group will follow. And everyone has a voice. We know there's much energy around this justice work in our group, and we're all eager to help. And many of you have raised some good ideas, and we are going to take a little time now to discuss the major facets and to determine how best to move forward and where you think you might want to put your energy. So the first thing we'd like to discuss tonight is, do we want some subcommittees to dig deeper into how to approach the work that needs to be done? So that's a possibility. We came up with 4 basic questions, and we are proposing perhaps a subcommittee structure as a way to deal with each of them. So the 4 questions, and we'll put these up on the screen in a moment, but how can this group continue to be a vital force for SBCLT, South Baltimore Community Land Trust? Another one, how do we raise racial equity funds? A third one, how do we engage the entire St. V's congregation? And then how do we continue our learning? So for example, an SBCLT subcommittee, we know that they're juggling developers and grants and contractors, et cetera, and we want to be prepared for the active ways that we can support them. We need to always be mindful that they will be driving the support, or the support that we're going to give them. Some volunteer their talents at the town meeting, but we know we also have a lot of untapped resources in the parish and in this group. So an SBCLT subcommittee could explore how best to do these things with Sharon's guidance, since I'm sure she would be on that subcommittee. For a different subcommittee, I'm sorry, did somebody ask something? Because my script is up and I can't see.
No, I think someone's just not muted.
Okay, thank you. So anyway, when we put this up, you may want to jot down the categories because you can start thinking about it. But we're going to have a general discussion now on, do subcommittees make sense for us at this point, just to find our path going forward. In the course of the discussion, you may think of something that we should add, another subcommittee, or change something that we already have. So if you could also think about maybe what excites you. So let's just take a little time to hear from you all and how you feel about that. They're the subcommittees. If you want to use your little yellow hand, you can, or if you want to jot these down, and then we'll be able to see everybody a little better after we get them down.
And again, these aren't written in stone. You may have an alternative suggestion or something to add. So please feel free. This is a very open discussion. While you're getting a chance to think, I can offer another example, Peggy.
Okay, great.
In our planning session, when we got to how do we continue our learning, what we're saying is it doesn't have to be just the way we've been doing, reading specific books, discussing them, and then bringing them up. And even if we were reading, one of the ideas that I came up with is how about if instead of reading some of the real heavy statistical studies and so forth, we actually read a couple of novels that deal with racism from renowned Black writers. For instance, Colson Whitehead, Pulitzer Prize winner, who wrote The Underground Railroad and is just about to come out with Harlem Shuffle, which would be dealing with Jim Crow era in New York. That could be a very interesting and enjoyable way of reading and discussing the same topics, but from a whole different view, the view of a renowned author who's giving you the facts, but doing it in a different kind of way.
Great, thanks, Skip. Does anybody need more time to jot those down? You good? Thank you. We can repeat them if anybody needs one, but Mary Ann has her hand up, so we'd like to hear
Great.
from her first.
I just had a question. The third and the fourth initiatives, keeping the parish engaged and continuing learning, are they exclusive, or are we keep doing our own learning as a work group, or are we offering perhaps learning opportunities for the parish in addition? So is parish-wide invitation to learn part of number 3 and our own continued learning number 4, or do they ebb and flow?
I think that's up to all of us to decide.
Mhm.
So if you have an opinion on that, Mary Ann, hey, throw it in there, because it's very possible that a lot of these are going to overlap. And we talked about adding another one about outreach to even outside the parish. And we thought that we'd probably wait until our parish was more solidified before we tackled that one. But it's what we all want it to be, what this group has been so passionate and so faithful. So we are open to whatever this group decides.
I just am thinking that inviting the parish to deeper learning should be a necessary part of the parish engagement, because the more they know, the more engaged, please God, they will be.
I
Got
absolutely.
it down. Got it down. Great. Thank
Yep.
you.
Jerry, Serafina. You're
Okay,
muted.
sorry, yeah.
Okay.
If we decide that the learning is parish-wide and is part of engagement, I think we've got to draw in the education committee, because we can't just keep having so many different groups doing different things. And it's this issue, and at the parish council, we should probably bring it up at the parish council, actually, that we've got to find a way to cross fertilize, if you will, so that we're moving in the same direction. So.
And if you recall, that's kind of how we started. The Education and Enrichment Committee, they were having those speakers right before COVID hit, before that, and it kind of got us interested and involved. And so we had talked to John a lot earlier about, yeah, we'd like this, we'd like them to be doing sessions, we could do sessions. We definitely concur with that. So, and the committee on, if we do go with the subcommittee on the continued learning, they can come up too with some ideas on format and how to do that, but absolutely.
And if I might, one other thing just occurred to me. This whole initiative on the Archdiocese, which is going to go on for a long time, and we don't exactly know how it will be structured, but the whole question of what's happening to the urban church, to me, is very connected to our concerns about racial equity. So somehow, I don't know how, but I think that's connected.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I agree. Any other thoughts?
Could you put those questions up again, please?
Sure.
Because I didn't get a chance to get them down.
We'll get with you in a second, Ann, as soon as everybody gets them down.
Okay,
Thanks, Dennis. Everybody
thank
else
you.
good?
Thank you.
Anybody else need more time? All right, Ann, I think you were next.
Yes, I just wanted to ask, and kind of, it sparked my thought after what Mary Ann was talking about in terms of engaging the rest of the community. And the town hall meeting was certainly a beginning step towards that. And I'm just wondering how many people were there and what was the response that you got from that town hall? Because I'm thinking, well, maybe we need to do more follow-up or continue whatever kind of conversations were started there to continue to, engage the rest of the community as well as to continue our learning. I mean, I think what I heard Mary Ann saying was that those are really connected as a good link.
Well, to answer your question about numbers, we had about 75 there and about 36, I think was the final number online. And then after the town hall, the last time I checked the viewing of the town hall recording that's on our YouTube channel, it was 155 or 57, around that. So some of those are not parishioners, and some are. But that's why, I don't know, Ann, if you were on yet, because I had my script up. I don't know if you were on when I said that we were having South Baltimore Community Land Trust come back again on the 25th of September after a Sunday mass and give an opportunity for parishioners who were not at the town meeting to interact and to kind of get some more information.
Okay, great. Well, that sounds like it was a wonderful turnout then.
Yeah, I think we were pleased with it.
Yeah, that's great.
So,
And you bring up another question too,
yeah.
which is, what do we do and how do we embrace like all those people who watch us on YouTube who are not parishioners? I know I have Al Reichel and Mary Ann and I have a friend from Florida, Fred Stokes, who attends, really, you may as well say, church on Sunday through us. And it's just interesting to think about that. If people are doing that, how do we embrace them?
Yeah.
Well, and that certainly fits with the way I've been engaging with you all for the last 2 years. Hopefully next month I'll actually be in Maryland, but yeah, these 2 years I've been doing it through Zoom, long distance. And I've been very appreciative of being able to do that. But there gets to be a point where, I'm feeling like, well, what more can I do being as far away as I am? So that's a good question to ask. How can we engage those long distance people if they want to continue to be part of it?
If we do subcommittees, you could definitely be on a subcommittee.
Yeah.
I'm just jotting that down. Thanks, Ann. Sharon, I think you were next.
Okay, what I was going to say about the subcommittee for SBCLT is that, yes, It's I believe that it is a necessary and important and a crucial next step, because there are so many different areas where we need insight, support, information, expertise, that trying to do that in front of a group of 25 or greater in any one forum is difficult. This week, we just purchased two additional properties. We were able to win them in the bid at a substantial, not a lot of money, which was helpful, but they're near the other four that we have. So we now are looking like at 6 different properties that are kind of close to each other. And then we have the original 1011. And I don't want to go through a whole litany of the things that are outstanding that we haven't resolved with or are trying to resolve. It has architecture and contractors and lawyers and banking and real estate and contracts and the city department of DPW. We have also Alice Kennedy and the housing. There's a very long list. And in order to really be able to focus in and be able to pull it together and know who amongst us has insight, expertise, or just skill, it needs to be done outside of this meeting. And I mean, we would obviously always bring to the full body whatever came out of the sub meetings, but in order to actually have an on the ground impact, that's what I believe, that's what we need. And I can't even begin to tell you how much is needed. As more and more stuff, I mean, we're being successful and that's great, but the more success you have, then the more stuff there is to do. And land trust in this city, it's not unknown in the country, but in this city, it's pretty much unknown. And that in itself is a whole nother area of how do you get the city, how do we get Baltimore to know that we're not as new as we look, and how to get them to reach out to other cities that have this. And so anyway, I'm going on, I'm rambling, sorry, but need a subcommittee. Thank you.
Yeah, great. And I did want to share with everybody, Audrey had sent me a couple articles for the newspaper that mentioned South Baltimore Community Land Trust, just really positive. And I listened to a interview that they did exactly on land trust that Melanie and the guy from the North group, I can't remember his name. Anyway,
Garrick.
it was wonderful. What was
His
it?
name is Garrick.
Garrick. Anyway, it was a wonderful interview, and it. I told her afterwards. I said, be nice. Some of those things would be nice for after the September 25th mass, that if she could bring up. So we might try to do a question and answer thing to help people understand more, because it was really beneficial. So anyway, thank you, Sharon. Jerry.
Yes, Ryan. Yeah.
Peggy, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, read it.
Yes.
And Danny, I'm going to mute you. Okay. Okay, go ahead.
So, were you able to send my email out to people? Okay.
I sent, what Jerry's asking about is people at the town hall volunteered for different things to work with South Baltimore Community Land Trust. I did send that information to Melanie, and we actually talked about some of that the other day. And she's going to be very interested in it. And I think we have something a little later in our script, but since you asked, they are dealing with a lot of developers, a lot of stuff right at the moment. As Sharon said, they just got 2 more properties. So they will be definitely interested in specific help like yours that you offered, Jerry.
Okay,
They're just not quite there yet. Okay.
okay. I
Um,
don't want to make a subcommittee out of it.
I'm sure that's gonna come up in the subcommittee.
My
Don't
head is
worry.
swimming with all of these committees, and I attended the parish council meeting, and there's so much going on all the time. I can't keep up with it. I mean,
Yeah, we know.
so, but anyway, thank you so much.
All right, thanks. Mary Catherine?
Muted. At the town hall, I know a lot of the people, or not a lot, but some of the people that came from other areas were coming just to see what we were doing and how it related to what they're doing. So that was people from Racial Justice Circle that were there that are already doing racial things. St. Anne's Parish, like Ralph Moore, etc. They're working on, getting the 6 Black people canonized, etc. So they're there because they have the same interests that we do, and they just want to see what we're doing. And we, of course, can listen to what they're doing. So I think that's why some of those people were there.
Right, and I did reach out to a couple people. I was in a training class with the gentleman from St. Ignatius, Kevin Birkin something. And anyway, we were talking a little bit, and I was telling him, hey, we'd love it if St. Ignatius wanted to support SBCLT also with us. And I also reached out to Tony Moore Dugan, so that's their 2 racial justice groups that they have. And so I did leave a message for her with the same offer, hoping that their groups will also maybe get on board to help SBCLT. So that remains to be seen. For other parishes, like I said, we kind of thought we better get our own parish working smoothly before we did a lot of outreach, but thanks, Mary Kevin.
Peggy,
John? Yeah.
would you explain to the group the training? Because I think that discussion we had with Bishop Lewandowski occurred kind of after the meeting, just, among you, me, and Father. But I think the group would be interested in knowing.
So the Archdiocese put on an intercultural training, and it was for schools and parishes and people from the Catholic Center, of course. And what they were doing is the woman who taught it, and they've been apparently teaching it across the country for, I guess, a year or more. And the woman who taught it, who did most of it, she was from a parish where they have a 9 o'clock mass for Hispanics, 11 o'clock mass for African Americans, a mass for Native Americans. They had so many cultures in their parish, and they were talking about how to integrate them into a parish as opposed to just assimilate them and have them be part of a parish, but then we just keep doing everything the way we used to do it. So I did get some thoughts. I did go to parish council once and tell them a little bit about that, and asking if it could fit in at all with our process that we're doing now on the strategic planning. And I talked to Mary Hennigan, who is in charge of that, and she said it would fit better with phase 3 of the planning. So I intend to bring it up again. But there are some things we could do, and at the next liturgy committee, I will kind of discuss with them a little bit about, we've been trying to do maybe more songs that, for example, like when we did the Black National Anthem to sing, trying to incorporate, we try to do some Hispanic songs, but most of us don't speak the language, so it's a little difficult. We need some Hispanics, more Hispanics in the choir, so we can do a better job of some of that. So anyway, the whole goal is to, and not just to do their music or not just to do that, but to have any culture that comes to our parish be a real part of the parish, on the finance committee, on parish council, etc. So that's kind of what the training was about, how to integrate every culture that you have in your parish so that it's a viable parish for everybody. Is that enough, Skip? Okay, thanks. All right, John.
Yeah, I want to start by just saying I'm concerned about having a lot of subcommittees. I count 20 attendees, maybe 25 on the call tonight, and I can see how quickly we can expand this bureaucracy to the point where we'll be totally ineffective. I fully want to support the South Baltimore Land Trust, which is a very promising endeavor. I believe that the way to deal with this is to have a regular reporting structure that doesn't assume a subcommittee, but ask someone, perhaps Sharon, because she's the most knowledgeable, I think, about this process, to tell us what the comings and goings of the land trust are that we would care about. For example, given our experience with various things that happened within our parish over the last 25 years, I'm very concerned about making sure that an audit of effectiveness for whatever the process is, whether it's academic, as in James and John, or the money spent as in a fiscal issue, is properly addressed. But I don't think that you need a big subcommittee for that. In fact, let me quote some scripture. God so loved the world that God never sent a committee. Okay. And there's a reason that God did that, I think. And what I'm trying to say is I'm very sympathetic to the South Baltimore Land Trust, very much so. But I want, as any other person who is reasonable, wants to be assured that there's an effective process in place that audits, A, the effectiveness of it and the way the land is distributed, for example, reflecting my own naivete about its process, but also about how money is spent, okay? And I believe that a regular report to this group or some other group, but I hope to God it doesn't have the word committee in it, would be able to accomplish that, which frees this group, which is the racism group. It's not the land trust group. It's one of many efforts, but that's the biggest one and the most important one right now. What I'm saying is, think about the bureaucracy that you want to create and that you don't want to create before you go further, because I'm worried about that. And I've been involved with bureaucracy for most of my life in a hospital setting. And I can tell you, they're ultimately mainly useless. Okay.
Thank you, John. Jody?
So just to, this is, I think the discussion that we wanted to have, like, do we need subcommittees? What? So John, I guess my question would be, there have been a couple times where we've posed things and asked for volunteers, and possibly there's not a lot of people maybe volunteering for it. So I think part of the subcommittees, it was a suggestion, but part of it is also maybe people would feel committed to, a facet of this. And then as the whole group, all of those facets go together. And I'm not saying, yes, let's do subcommittees. I'm just throwing that out as, to look at it in the lens that you're looking at it.
Yes, I didn't mean to criticize anybody in particular. What I'm saying is that we may not have the talent in the room right now. If Sharon were to bring us a report a month from now from the South Baltimore Land Trust about how they use their money over the last 3 months, I don't know that anybody in this room right now is equipped to judge that very well. But I know somebody that is, Mark Palmer, for one example. Okay, that's what I'm saying. that what you do is once you understand exactly the form that you're using, you find the person who can meet that function and deal with it. All right. And mainly in my head, it's about for the South Baltimore Land Trust and for most of the things we made endorse and really get our arms behind it, push for it. It's going to be about money. Okay. So we're probably going to need an accountant with talent who can deal with this. And it does not require a committee. It requires a structure that allows things to be forwarded to the right people. This is a major problem in our parish historically with how money is spent and how the process has been audited. And I don't want to see it repeated here because I'm very much in favor, as Audrey is, of supporting this land trust thing.
Yeah, that was helpful.
Thank you, John. And I know at one point we had the your accountant Sharon, or I forget what her title was, when we met with her, when she told us how things worked. So yeah, that's a good point. We could get more clarity on that and share more information on that. Thanks, John and Jody. Jerry.
Which one?
Serafina, one with her hand raised.
So a couple of things. I think I do agree with John on, I think we're too small at this point to have subcommittees. And we have too many subcommittees right now in the parish that are actually not always accountable to the whole parish. So I agree with that. I think that when things come up, that we could have working groups. And those were, and John, you're absolutely right. I think there are tons of people in the parish who, started on this journey and now have sort of left off. It doesn't mean they're disinterested, but they can be called upon when you have a working group for a very specific task. We reach out and we call upon them for assistance, right? And I think that all four of the themes that you put out there are very appropriate. So I don't think it's just about the land trust. I think there are three other areas there that need work. And I think we can do it as a committee and as working groups. And just finally, I want to say, John, I think the parish council of today is being more diligent about asking a lot of questions and transparency about our finances. So I hope you'll put some trust in that.
Thanks, Jerry. And go ahead, Skip.
This is a good discussion, and I really want to thank John and Serafina for their point. I get it. I think, for instance, maybe we use the word subcommittee too broadly. Continuing our learning is a working group task. It's an ad hoc thing. You come up with a couple recommendations. People may like, let's do this. Let's not always have it be a book. And then we move on. We get that going. So, thank you for that clarification, because it's right. I think there's a big difference between an ad hoc committee or working group and a subcommittee, which is going to be a standing committee or something. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned that, Skip, because I guess I was thinking in my mind, working committee, just to meet this one time to come up with this, and what we're going to say later in our meeting was, and then come back and report next meeting. So we're thinking of it happening this month, where people would meet and try to come up with how they think, if you volunteer for number one, how that should, if you volunteer for number two, just suggestions, and then have this group say yay or nay to those suggestions. So it sounds like everyone would be more comfortable if we called these working groups?
No,
we wouldn't. Okay.
No, I think what you just described is a committee.
Yeah.
That without any particular issue to take up, they just meet and then figure it out. And that becomes a committee. I think the working group is, we have a very particular question. So for example, on the, on the learning, we want to get education. I'm making it up. all right, just as an
Mhm.
example. We want to get the education committee involved. We would like there to be a book or whatever. We pick it, and then it goes away. But we as a group decide what the particular, and it may not be all 4 things at the same time, right? It emerges as a very particular specific project that we have to take on in the next month. Not let all these groups get together and figure out what we're going to do. That becomes a committee. A working group or a task force maybe picks up a very specific item that this group decides we want to have a plan for, not general, because then it goes on for months. Anyway, sorry, that's
That's right. So I guess I'm a little confused. So I'm going to let you all discuss it. So I guess our thinking was we have these 4, we thought, categories, subgroups, working. I don't care what we call it. To me, it's all semantics, but these issues that we need to say, how are we going to proceed on these issues? So I'm going to let you all kind of straighten me out here. So I think, Mary, were you next or were Rita and Denny? I thought Mary was, but I didn't see her, but their hand is for, but I thought Mary was next, but you're muted, Mary.
Mary, go ahead first.
Thanks, Rita.
Thank you, Rita. I just don't see all of these as equal. If our main thing is to help the South Baltimore Land Trust, how do we do that? We do that by fundraising. How do we fundraise? We need community, we need parish engagement. So it's like steps. And we can't take one step until we've taken the one before it. So what comes first? We can't fundraise until we have the parish engaged. And we can't support SBCLT until we fundraise.
I think that was exactly one of the things that was stated, like we have to determine what to do first, what order, but yeah, good point.
Okay.
Rita?
My question is a little bit more basic. John brought up that we came across South Baltimore Land jump into, and Denny and I wholeheartedly agree with that. But I thought we were looking for one thing to jump into, and now we have to figure out how we're going to support it. And if it's only financial, well, then the job is kind of done. And if it's more than financial, like helping them when they want to plant trees or anything like that, then we're kind of an ongoing thing. But we're here to support the South Baltimore Land Trust, and I didn't think we wanted to divide it up into the same people being interested in this and this and this. I thought we wanted to give wholeheartedly to the South Baltimore Land Trust. Correct?
So I'm a little confused, but absolutely we want to get as involved as we can with South Baltimore Community Land Trust. But does that mean we want to stop learning about racial equity? Do we want to stop working on legislation? Do we want to not inform the rest of the parish? For example, however we do it through e-news, through updates to let them know what's happening with us. So I guess I don't see it as having to be exclusive, Rita.
Oh, I agree with all the things you say, but all of the things you said kind of go along with South Baltimore Land Trust. What I don't think is we don't need to find a new thing to encourage the people in our parish to support financially or support in any other way. I thought we were just going to support this. Now, obviously, learning more about racial injustice is just, is all part of the learning process. But I don't think we need to jump into another charity, another goal a way to support this. We've got this, and we don't need another thing to support.
I guess
Rita, I
didn't
think the
hear
fun-
anybody, I didn't hear that mentioned, but go ahead, Jody.
Yeah, the fundraising would need to be ongoing. And that was the piece of the fundraising. It's still for SBCLT. It would
Yeah,
just be, we're not over and done with fundraising. That's a
Oh,
drop in the bucket.
I'm all for doing anything for SBCLT. I just don't think we should bring up another issue, another project. I think it all should be concerned with that one.
Yeah, I didn't hear anybody mention another project, but maybe I missed that.
John, I think you did. You said that something about we've got, other places to look. I don't know how you phrased it, but I distinctly had the
Well,
impression.
let me give you an example, Rita. This group, even though it's not titled this, is a racism group,
Uh-huh.
anti-racism. And the South Baltimore Land Trust is a very important component of that, but we should be able to park it in a way that people settle in on a donational description of what they're going to do or not do, okay? And then we move on, but we audit whatever we do because we have that responsibility to the people that we've sold on the idea of donating to it. That's an obligation we have. That's a moral one, if not anything else. However, as we do this, we know that in the Archdiocese of Baltimore, an anti-racism homily by a Roman Catholic priest is so much of a rarity that it ought to prompt a column in Dan Roderick's. All right. It's very rare. And who's responsible for? I know the name of the person who's responsible for that. And I know how they could change that. But we're not dealing with that. That's what I mean. That's what we ought to be doing. We're small enough. So if we get obnoxious enough, we actually might be able to do something about that. And at the same time, not to sacrifice the land trust after we figure out a system that doesn't weigh us down to the point where we can't do anything else. And these are the things we ought to be talking about. This is a racism group. This is not about financial support of various laudable processes that are all good. I'm not negative on that. But that's what we're supposed to be doing. That's what our spirit tells us. That by God, that's what we're supposed to be about. So that's what I'm concerned about.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you both. Jerry DeLombo.
Okay.
You were next.
Okay. This is, well, actually Peggy, Skip, Sharon. When we were working on the letter, I have a question about to the Archbishop and to Bishop Lewandowski. Was that a subcommittee or a working group? Because
I guess I'm not into titles. I don't know what it was.
someone, I'm not going to say who, but someone who I admire and love very much, who was on this meeting tonight, suggested to me to get into this a subcommittee. I think it was. I'm not sure if that's really what they used, but that's, I think, when I contacted you, Peggy, I think, and we started writing the letter.
Yeah, I think we might have called it that. Again, I could be using that term incorrectly. To me, they're all about the same. So that's my fault, my failing. So
no problem. It's fine with me. I don't care what it's called, but I just wanted to figure out, is it just a working group? Because was it supposed to go on indefinitely? I think, was it Sharon? Somebody said that if something went on indefinitely, it would be a subcommittee. The other question I have is, because I don't know where I've been, but the letter, what happened to it? Because I don't know.
yeah, we sent it a long time ago.
We did send it.
We
Okay.
sent it, and And then when we were talking to Bishop Lewandowski, he had not received it yet. It hadn't gotten through his channels yet. So we actually sent him an e-copy
Good.
too. So
And did you get a response? I mean, from,
no, we did not.
We didn't get a written response, but the response was Bishop Lewandowski's presence at the,
oh,
and-
yeah,
yeah.
but I mean, from the Archbishop. or-
No, we did not get a response. And back to your subcommittee question. So these 4 questions that we posed that were on the screen, those are the issues right now that we thought if people could volunteer to work on one of these issues and bring it back to the next meeting just to help us decide our path forward. So I don't know if that clarifies it or makes it worse, but let's hear what Jerry Fikowski has. Maybe she'll solve it for us.
I'm not thinking so, but just a couple points. Number one, I think everybody here is probably committed out because everybody here belongs to probably at least 3 committees in this parish. But I love the 4 discerning questions that you all came up with. So that's what I'm thinking about. So for me, kind of the root of all this is how do we keep the people at St. Vincent's engaged and interested in all this? And that's definitely going to have to do with how we continue learning and how we continue educating. For the meeting, that enormously successful town meeting, people went back to their committees that they were already on, like education and liturgy and social justice, and said, send somebody to this meeting from this committee, turn out for this. And that's what happened, that people came, the strangers came from the highways and the byways and came to that town meeting from all these different committees. And I had coffee today with Chris McCullough, and Chris was there, and he's now at St. Ignatius. And so we're going to be able to have this kind of engagement of people that we know from other places. So that question of how do we continue learning? I just think this, I would be happy like to go back to the liturgy committee and say to them, this group, our anti-racism group is really rocking and rolling. So I would like maybe on our agenda to think about once in a while, how's a liturgy committee, how do we work for this? What are we doing specifically? And so I'm not suggesting this, but suppose we said, we'd like every committee to encourage all their committee members to read The Color Purple, and then spend a half an hour at the next meeting saying, did that book spiritually speak to you? How did it spiritually speak to you? And if it did, then what? How could you put that into action? And then somebody could take that back to our committee. I mean, it doesn't have to be so complicated. None of this has to do, Rita, with dumping our commitment to, that's going to be there. That's going to be a pervading interest, but we're going to lose ground if we don't keep the parish interested and we don't keep people learning and keep them on top of things. So I think you always have to start with that. And I think we got enough committees that people from here could go back to the committees they belong to and say, could we have an agenda one time where we spend maybe just 15 minutes talking about how we think we have a part to play as liturgy committee or as social justice in this, whether we're on that big anti-racism committee or not. I mean, I don't think it has to be so complicated. I just think we need to have clarity and enthusiasm and spread the word, because right here are 25 disciples and you're all spirit imbued, and you could just take the spirit where you're already working and then bring it back. I know I'm an idealist, but I think that'll work a bit.
I just wanted to say, Jerry, I think what you said very much is in alignment with what John and Serafina said, in the sense that what can we do that doesn't become a bureaucracy? And so you were saying, how about just generating some really good ideas and then taking those ideas where they need to go, which is also Serafina's point about don't repeat what already exists. If, look at the other social justice ministries that are in the church, what is it that they're doing that sort of responds to what we're saying is a need? Share it, turn it over, let them do it. So, and I think among the three of you, you're sort of pointing out a way for us to work and make a distinction between a standing small group that sort of has to exist to keep guiding something, like financial accountability. You're going to have a group that really has an auditor, somebody who's really managing the budget. That's a legitimate bureaucratic thing to go. But so many of these other things are coming up with an idea, sharing it with the right parish ministry that already exists, and getting some kind of immediate action, like in liturgy or in some sort of welcoming thing. So I think it's sort of like what I've learned is making distinctions between things that don't have to be bureaucracies, but can be ideas that are shared in the right places. And then we're not the only ones acting on them.
Thanks, Skip.
I think that's what I got.
No, that was perfect. Serafina?
Yes. So Jerry, thank you, Jerry Fikowski. 110 and 20% totally agree. And Skip, thank you for bringing it together and summarizing it. And I'm gonna bring it to another level.
Okay.
I've been one of the things I've been bringing up at Parish Council, and we have put it off till after the strategic planning, is, which of all of these different ministries and subcommittees, et cetera, should be full-fledged committees on the council that report to the council. I get resistance on this, right? Everybody wants the status quo. It seems, well, this, we have a dream as part of social action. And I'm saying to you, make this a full standing committee of the parish council. If we're serious about racial justice, it is a full committee of the council. A, B. Then you bring exactly what you just said. We're bringing this to the council. We want every committee of the council, every ministry to integrate this into your work plan. And I put that out to you. I can't make it happen. I'm just, I'm just saying that if we're serious about making this a really serious fundamental pillar of our church in this community, then let's do it. Let's make it serious. And parishioners, and we announce it. Racial justice has now become a full-fledged accountable committee on our parish council servicing the entire community.
Thank you, Jerry. We have some thumbs up. Mary Catherine, did you want to respond to that or something else?
Yes, I wanted to respond to that because I know Women in Ministry is not a committee. We were told we weren't. We are, we have our mission, but we don't report to the council because we're not one of the top ones, whatever they designated when they divided them up. But since I'm thinking about what Jerry Sicola said, one of the main things when we had all the listening sessions was one of the top issues, women involved in the Catholic Church, even up to ordination of women, was one of the top things we talked about. So if that's what St. Vincent is quite concerned about, how come Women in Ministry can't be considered a committee that reports to the parish council? Like you said, Jerry, I don't know how you become a committee, but they made those designations a while back and we were told no.
Yeah, I don't really know how you become a committee either.
Yeah, for racial justice issues, yeah. And all the others, yeah.
You
Yeah.
persist like hell. That's how.
You come and ask.
Both
I
of
agree
them.
with both. Those are two major cross-cutting issues in every institution, every place that I've worked and across our society. The issue of women and the issue of race. And if anybody wants to bring it up, I mean, there's something about, well, they weren't in the Constitution. Well, we're going to be changing. So we have to evolve. And I say, come and ask for it.
Well, as parish council president, Madam President, can't you just tell them what we're gonna do? Put that gavel down.
I'll come and I'll make the request. You're there, so you can make the request for racial justice.
How many parish council committees are there?
I actually think there's a sense on the council, I could be wrong, but I think there's a sense on the council that a lot of these other ministries don't want to be on the council. I think there's that feeling like, oh, they're going to make us be part of the institution. I don't know. But I think I want to put that out there. I think this is critical. If we're going to make this parish be serious about racism, we've got to put it in there and mainstream it across all of our work. And the same with gender.
Women.
Yep.
And somebody, I think Sharon asked how many committees. Right now, I think it's finance, social action, liturgy, education and enrichment,
and facilities.
Facilities.
Are we
Is
missing
that
it? I think that's
A
it.
church reform.
Oh, church reform. Yeah.
Church reform. All right, so 6. Plus representatives, plus the incorporators, so it's pretty large group at the moment, but I think Anne was next.
I just wanted to, reiterate what Serafina or Jerry was saying, that if you're really going to address structural racism, you've got to make sure that every facet of the parish is looking at themselves and saying, what can we do better? What can we do differently? How are we going to really make this part of our, DNA, that we are going to be different? And so it's important, I think, like she was saying, that we bring this to parish council and challenge each of these different areas of parish life to look at themselves, deeply and say, what have we been doing in the past and what do we need to change in order to really make ourselves, a totally inclusive community? And the same with gender. I mean, it works both ways. How are we going to be, as inclusive as possible? And it's only by challenging and addressing that at every level, and not just having one committee, be the one that says, we're doing this.
Right, thank you. And I think it was, it might have been before Jerry was on parish council, but through social action, when we were talking about We Have a Dream, we did ask that everybody look through a racial lens at their things, but yeah, to have a standing committee on there, that was kind of when we were in our initial stages, I guess. John, I think you were next.
Yeah, just as somebody that advocated not having committees, I'm going to take the other side of it for a minute, but I want to congratulate Jerry Sokola for taking on the presidency of the parish council, and I wish her well. She's an extremely effective, dedicated person. However, the amount of time that this parish in our 28 years of participation has spent on racial justice or justice in general has been very great. And I would urge people that I first of all endorse the idea that the racism thing should be some kind of working group. I'm trying to avoid the word committee that works on this. But if we're going to do that, then we ought to take care of the great sin in our church, which is sexism. Been there forever. And anybody doesn't want to call it a sin, let's have a debate on that, okay? But the point is that if we're going to do that, first of all, we're going to stand out like a sore thumb among the parishes in Baltimore who are subdued by this stuff. So we got to expect some blowback that won't be that pleasant, but I think it's what ought to be done. And these are two working groups that ought to continue, because I think that's what we're supposed to be doing, is trying to right wrongs. And we've just identified the two great sins, one of the United States of America, of racism. I'm going to label it that way. You can argue it's bigger than that.
Mm.
And also of the Roman Catholic Church. And has the sin been around for a while? Oh, yeah, a long, long time. And any guy that's carrying a Y chromosome today knows that but for the women, the church would have collapsed and died a long time ago. All right. So I'm saying, I think these are worthy causes. If we do them, there's a lot of other stuff that needs to be repositioned so we don't duplicate work from committees or whatever. I think it's very important to look at that carefully.
Thank you, John. Definitely. Serafina, or did you want to let Pat go since she hasn't gotten to speak yet? Pat?
I just wanted to, I don't know, I don't want to take this whole discussion off in a whole nother direction, but I mean, this is a racism group, but there are two other groups in the parish, the Women in Ministry group and the Church Reform Committee. And part of our work with the Church Reform Committee is the issue of women. And my role with Discerning Deacons is a subgroup of the Church Reform Committee. So, we do have people in the parish working on all these different things. So, and we did decide at our meeting the other night that we should, in fact, ask every committee in the parish to be sure that they send a representative to our event on September 24th. So we're thinking in the same lines of making sure all the committees in the parish are interrelated and working towards the same goals of justice, basically, is what we're talking about. Yeah.
Definitely. All right, Serafina.
So, and I don't want to derail it either, but I think this is I think this could be a big step for the parish that germinates right here in this group. If this group or Women in Ministry comes to parish council and says, we are doing very important mainstream work across the board in this parish, we would like to be a committee on the parish. The other thing I want to say is, then you have to come with action. What happens right now with all of the committees is the committee submits a report. Sometimes it used to get, we used to have a session where each committee chair would report on what they've written, but everybody listened and clapped and thank you, right? Now we receive the reports, should be read. I don't even know if everybody reads them. Receive the reports that should be read. And I say, please bring to the agenda any important issues that have come up in your committee. Hardly a word. So here's an opportunity. If this committee, and for the moment, it's under social action, right? But if it does become a committee or even still under social action, what could happen, those 4 themes that you've outlined, come to parish council and say, this is the action we need across the parish. We need education committee to take on XYZ. We're asking, church reform to take on XYZ. We're asking liturgy to do this. We're asking the finance committee to consider this money that we need to go to South Baltimore. The point is that if you want this to become mainstreamed, you've got to come to parish council, not just reporting on our little private conversations, because that's what every committee does, but come to the council and say, this is what we need the parish to do. And we can't do it all. That's why you don't need subcommittees, because we're asking the committees that exist to take on a cross-cutting issue for the parish.
So I can comment on a couple of those things.
So-
I agree with the philosophy. When I have come to parish council and asked for people to support this or to support that, or come with us to city council or come with us here, rarely does anyone from parish council come. It's almost always the committees that do it. And I guess one other thing I think we need to consider is the committees are doing a lot of work for the parish, for all of us, for the parishioners, and to ask those same people to take on more work than what they're already doing. I guess I wish there were a way to, I think it's more important to get other parishioners to get involved in some of these things. It's very difficult when you have committees that have a lot of ministries for somebody to come and say, we need you to do this now. It's very difficult.
Well, I think,
want to be
Peggy,
practical.
I think the difference might be, you're not asking individuals to come and, go to an event. That's not what I'm talking about. I think you bring it to the council and you say, for an example, we would really like, if the parish council would endorse this, we would like education committee to take on this. Or if the parish council would endorse, it's not you coming as a committee or chair asking individuals to do things, or it is that the council has to decide this is going to be something we're going to take on. That's how I would like to manage the council. I can't promise it, but it would be really good if some of the chairs of committees would try to do this and call me and talk to me and say, how can we structure it at a parish council meeting? And I should say this to every committee, really. But I don't think it's about asking individuals to take things on and volunteer to come to an event.
Well, I'm talking about asking committees to do that, to go back to their committees, and that's it. They're individuals representing the committees. So, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with the chair. I'm just saying that you usually do go to parish council and you bring up something that you feel the council should support. And I'm just saying, I don't think that a lot of chairs have gone back and either didn't share the information or the support was not always there. But again, it's a new regime now.
Let's try it.
Let's try it. Mary.
Yeah, well, I do hope that, we want this to be a focus for our parish. So it should be a focus for the parish council and everybody on it. It needs to be, or else we can't say it's a focus for the parish if we're excusing people from not being on it. If a committee, maybe they need to look at what they're working on and maybe change it to be able to include something on our list.
Okay, great. And also, if we have any volunteers who'd like to go to parish council, speak up too. Chuck, I think you had your hand raised.
Yes, I was hoping before we broke up tonight that we could give some kind of support to Sharon's request that she's made, God knows how long ago. And someone who's worked many years on the Baltimore City Housing, at the City Housing Department, I really feel for what she was asking. So I'm hoping that we do form, I don't know what you want to call it, but a group to help her like she asked.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. So I guess we've kind of gone around a lot of circles, but Skip, do you want to pull us together on, we really haven't agreed on any categories here.
Well,
But
we've kind of come to some different conclusions, all of
Yeah.
which I think are workable. Let's just, like with what Chuck said, I think the group is not opposed to giving Sharon the sort of support that she's asking for, which would also help us to feed help and all through to her. But people who would like to sort of be some other hands and heads there to help her, knowing that she's going to kind of steer and guide. I find that's not a bureaucracy. That's putting the resources where it needs to be, and it's going to be helpful. So I think we've also agreed that all four of the questions, as Jerry Theokowski said, were valid and important questions. They don't all get the same answer. For instance, if we look at how do we continue our learning, I heard two different things. One was what we learned in many instances ought to be what maybe the parish as a whole is learning. And so you've already got an education committee or something there on the council. How are we working in tandem, putting ideas through to them or tasks through to them that really help the whole parish? At the same time, that doesn't stop us from having an idea too that we bring up here within our own group and follow through. And I just, for one, would like it to be more than reading didactic material all the time. So, and I do think that, as one other person mentioned, sometimes reading what great writers have had to say, Colson Whitehead, I mean, Pulitzer Prize winner, and some of the great books are Color Purple, all of that. Watching a play or something, I think they're equally valid ways of learning. How do we engage the entire congregation? We've talked about that. We've got to become a true integral part of the parish council. That's not forming a new thing, that's getting on to what exists and trying to work from inside out of it to get everything moving. Racial equity funds, I don't think anybody disagrees that you don't need a couple of truly fiscal wise people to make sure that we're accountable. You know you're going to need an accountant of sorts. You know you're going to need somebody who knows how to put an audit together or reply to an audit. So we're only talking about a couple people there. So I think what we got from the group as a whole were different kinds of answers to four questions which were important but didn't all call for the same type of committee response. How's that sound?
see, he's so good at pulling things together.
That doesn't mean I'm right.
So.
Let me ask, can I ask just one question? Sorry. Just Sharon, because I know some of these things are down the road. Could you name like top 3 immediate?
That's what I
leaders?
need to do, and I need to get back to you and Skip, and I need to get back to you, and I need to talk to Melanie and others about what are the 3 things that two or three things that we're looking at right this minute of that are pressing and immediate.
Yeah.
And I would like to get that to you earlier so that you can get it out to the group. And next meeting, we have something already begun the discussion, so to speak, and to be able to identify what the areas are and therefore where the resources are within the parish, within this group, and within the parish that can be of support and experience, and also of insight. When you're trying to build something that's new in the city, that's new to the community, and you're new at it too. I mean, a South Baltimore Lawn Trust is not 10 years old by any means, not even 5. So there's a lot of newness out here. But all of us that are sitting on this call are not new. And all of the people in the parish aren't either. So it's out there. I have to be able to be more precise in saying and bringing to you what we need. And therefore, then you can identify where the resource is. That makes sense?
Thank you.
Mhm. Right.
Thank you. So does anybody know they would like to work with Sharon on a working group type thing? Kathy?
Yes,
Anybody out, Chuck? And I was just going to tell you one. Oh, I know, one other question. Are you all still interested in the white fragility piece? Because we do have some education on that we kind of started in May, and I know we keep sliding it back because more important things are coming up, but I just wanted to say, are you still interested in that? Yeah, okay. Okay, thank you.
Just one question on how, I mean, this is August and we have an election coming up in November. And I think although race is always on the ballot.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
with the current, I don't know what party affiliation everyone is on the call. I apologize if I'm stepping on toes. But with the, I apologize in advance, but with the Republican gubernatorial candidate, I got serious issues here. And I don't know where to place that in the context of St. Vincent's, but you've always been out there. We're out there for social justice. We're out there for redress of issues. We're out there for women. And all of this, this particular gubernatorial candidate seems to be somewhere out in Jurassic Park when it comes to this.
Oh, yeah.
What we can do is say that if you should always vote your conscience, but if you are in a quandary of issues or people, if you want to talk to somebody, and usually we do it through either the Social Action of Peace and Justice, but usually when we make announcements about legislation or voting, Father will definitely, I'm sure, be encouraging people to vote. And maybe we could ask him to say, if you have questions or you're not sure, feel free to talk to and you're interested in social justice, feel free to talk to some of that committee. So we have done that before, but we can't come out at mass and say, who to vote for, but we can do that, Sharon. And on the side, you can say whatever you want to anybody.
Well,
so
I mean, one suggestion might be if we could come up with 5 questions emanating out of racial justice and say, consider these questions and where the candidate stands. Or you don't even have to say the candidate. You could say, here's one candidate, don't name them, stands on these 5 issues, and here's how another candidate stands on these 5 issues, and vote your conscience.
Yeah, that would be a good way. The question,
in other words, putting a racial justice lens on
right,
the issues.
We can't promote or not promote particular,
but we can inform.
But we can inform. I think that's a good way to do it with the questions.
Yeah, the questions are great.
Sharon, if you have those questions, if you know exactly why one person you think definitely don't vote and what the other person's view, feel free to pick some questions that would lean people that way. And I think Mary Ann had something.
The Baltimore Sun did took the candidate's own words on 5 or 6 major topics, and I know that at least one of them, if not more than one, had to do with racial justice issues. Also things like climate change and transportation in the city, which are also connected. Now, I am not sure that Sir Republican candidate actually responded to the Baltimore Sun. But I know the Democratic candidate did, and we might get some help right there using the candidate's own words. So we wouldn't look like we were doing the endorsement we badly want to do.
Inform.
Good.
All right, I'll look for the questions, and I'll try to go through the archives of the Baltimore Sun, because I'm a subscriber, so I should be able to get something out of it.
That would be great.
And see if there's, if I also can see, not just the endorsement, but just if we take three, like someone said, 4 or 5 outstanding, big issues, and see where each person tracks.
Check the banner also.
Okay, the banner I will.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I got an assignment, another one.
Jerry, maybe I think, never mind. I won't even bring that up. We had talked about, just to keep the congregation a little bit informed, putting 2 or 3 sentences every few weeks in the e-news regarding what's happening either with South Baltimore Community Land Trust for the fact that they bought 2 more properties, things like that. How does that sound to people? Do we want to use that avenue at all to keep people somewhat informed? Okay. Anybody want to write it ever?
Well, if it's about South Baltimore, either I'm gonna have to write it, or Melanie or somebody in the group's gonna have to write it and submit it to you all, submit it to you for approval. And that's kind of better anyway, because we can say what the topic of what the week is, the month is.
Okay.
And like I said, as I introduced the 2 properties that we acquired yesterday, there's other things out there. We broke ground, as you know, and we're looking for architectural drawings for the newer houses that are not going to be the smart houses or those. But okay, I got that. I'll put
Okay,
that on the list too.
I talked to Melanie earlier this week, I guess it was this week, about, that it would be nice to get some sort of report. And she thought I meant like some long report. I said, I'm just thinking about 2 or 3 sentences just to kind of keep people up to date on things. And she said, oh yeah, that's fine. So that would be great, Sharon, if you could work with her on that, just to keep
I can do
people
that.
involved. Al?
Yes, Sharon, I think that this would be a great avenue for you to let the parish know what needs you need in terms of expertise, etc.
Yeah.
And that goes out to the entire parish. So if we have a weekly update or whatever works with you in terms of what you need.
That's fair.
That to me is one of the best ways of getting information. Yeah.
That's insightful, and that's fair.
Super. Anybody else have anything they wanted to bring up before we call it a night?
I just want to say it was nice seeing you all in person in June.
In June when you were here. Yes, we love seeing you in person too. So our next meeting is September 21st, just to get that on your calendar. And Rita, did you have something you want to add?
Yeah, since we got here late, we missed those 4
discerning questions.
Discerning questions. Is that?
I'll put them in the chat.
Okay, or I'll send them to you, Rita.
That's
true. Oh, okay. I thought that, I know that the meeting is being recorded, so I thought maybe I could just go back and listen to the beginning of the meeting.
Yeah, I'll send it to you, and the meeting is being recorded, and I will get that on the whatchadoodle.
Okay.
Or the, you know what I mean.
Whatchadoodle, okay.
Where all the rest of them are on the website. But sometimes it takes me a while, so be patient. All right, anything else? All right, I think Skip's going to lead us in prayer since Father was unable to make it tonight.
Quick and spontaneous.
Okay.
Spirit of wisdom, thank you for your inspiration tonight. To receive it, we have learned to listen and blend our understanding. Thank you also for guiding us to learn how to work smarter, not just harder. And thank you for the wisdom of those who in particular gave us a formula as we deal with racism and issues. We can lead horses to water, but we can't make them drink. However, we can salt the oats. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Skip. I love it. All
That
right.
was great.
Thank you
Prayers
all.
and
It's
grace.
always
Thank
a
you. Thank
pleasure.
you ever
Right.
so
Thanks,
much.
everybody.
Thanks.
Appreciate
Bye-bye.
it.
Bye-bye.
See
Good
you
night.
soon.
Love you, fam.
See you all. Uh-oh, Jerry's frozen.
Uh-oh. So is Michael.
No, I think, are you moving, Mike?
No,
No.
I'm trying to find see if my picture will emerge.
Oh, we see you.
No, you see me?
Yes,
Mhm. Yeah,
Oh.
we see you.
yeah, we see you.
And it was good to see you Sunday, Mike. I didn't get a chance to speak to you. I
Yeah.
saw you coming out of church.
It was nice to see you.
Well, I'm very unfamiliar with all this, so I just thought I would try and educate myself.
Yeah, no, we saw you the whole time.
Oh, well, I didn't see anybody the other side, so
Really?
Oh, you
That's
have
all
to
right.
activate your camera.
Well, I thought I did, but
Well, no, his camera's activated because we can see
Since
him.
we saw him, that's right.
But why can't you see anybody else? Oh, I know. Go up to your far right-hand corner where it says view.
yeah,
Click on that. And what does it say?
speaker or gallery?
Speaker.
And what do you have checked?
Speaker.
Okay, now go down and click on gallery. Now, can you see us?
You see me now.
Can you see the rest of
See
us
us?
too?
Yeah,
There's
I
six of us still
excuse
on.
me for picking my nose.
We didn't see that. You were a lot smaller because there were more people on, so don't
I-
worry.
All right, well,
All right.
I'm glad the view and the gallery trick is.
Good.
No.
Good.
Yeah,
All right. Thanks, Mike. We'll see you soon.
take care.
We'll see you at church.
Yeah, and the, I could use the four, I came in just as you were showing the,
Oh,
Oh, they're in the
questions?
chat, but I
Okay,
can email
that's
them.
all right. Jody, I'll
I
send it.
just- Okay, I just emailed them to, I can do it, Peggy. I just emailed it to
Rita.
Rita. So are you, if I put in Mike Kelly, I'll just send it to
It
him right
should
now.
come up.
I should-
Okay,
And Peggy, you're still recording.
thank you.
I'm sure, I'm on that's my name on the parish list, I think.
Mike Kelly. Okay, nope. I know two Mike Kellys. That's bad. Okay.
I'll
What's
do it.
your email, Mike?